Ben McKee, West Rucker, Go Vols 24/7 here inside of Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center with our full court press following Tennessee's 68-56 win over Mississippi State. Tennessee now 17-6 in its last 23 games against top 15 opponents. That's a pretty nice bounce back win from the debacle that was the Vanderbilt game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think during a long season, you kind of have to manage emotions and expectations and all those things. And I didn't think there was reason to freak out Saturday. I don't think all of a sudden Tennessee's back to the best team in the country tonight. But this was a solid performance by Tennessee. And when you look at it, you hate to say that you get a team like a top 14, top 15 team in your building and it's a layup, but you look at Tennessee's schedule coming up, you look at what happened, last weekend. Tennessee needed to get this game, and it didn't need to be at its best, but it needed to be pretty good. And I thought defensively, Tennessee was excellent. I think that's a good Mississippi State team. Hubbard's one of my favorite players in college basketball. That's a really good coach over there. They weren't perfect, but they were good enough. When the defense is good and Lanier or Gainey is going to hit shots, Tennessee's usually going to win.
Yeah, and not only did Tennessee want to send a message by bouncing back from the Vanderbilt loss, but I think, and maybe this was overlooked because of the Vanderbilt loss, but Mississippi State bullied Tennessee twice last year. Mississippi State was the only team that Tennessee did not beat in the SEC last year. And this Mississippi State team looks a lot different in the post. You don't have Tolu Smith first and foremost.
45-year-old Tolu Smith out there.
Giving you issues. So a little bit of an easier path to success for Tennessee's post players without him down there. But Tennessee wanted to be the more physical team because of what happened last year, and they were tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way. They're not exactly the same, but State kind of has some of those A&M qualities.
Yes.
That the sum is better than the parts, but the parts are pretty good, and there's a really good point guard. There's some similarities there in just the physical way they play, the way that they run those defenses that aren't really designed to force turnovers, but they're designed to really kind of get you back and on the shot clock, and they make you kind of take it down slowly, and all of a sudden you look up, there's 12 seconds on the shot clock and you haven't passed the ball. And that's why you saw so many situations tonight where Tennessee was barely beating the shot clock with shots. And some of that went well, some of it didn't. But, physically, that's just a difficult team to play against in some ways. But Tennessee in this building, if Tennessee played pretty well, it was going to win, and it did.
Yeah, and the big reason why they played well is because of Chaz Lanier. He got his shot going a little bit on Saturday against Vanderbilt. Tonight he was terrific in the first half. He ends up with 23, scored 14 in the first half. He was 4 of 7 from 3 in the first half. The shooting numbers look maybe a little, I don't know that worse is the right word, maybe a little inflated because of some second half misses when the game was out of reach and in hand. But Chaz was really good from the jump, knocks down his first 2 threes of the night. Tennessee jumps out to an 8-0 lead, and he was terrific. And I thought he was terrific defensively. He had a couple of deflections that led to steals. There were a couple of times where he did a great job of shuffling his feet and keeping his man in front of him, not allowing his man to blow past him. I thought he was terrific defensively, and I thought that helped him get going offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think tonight he's usually an okay defender, and that's fine when you're surrounded by as many great defenders as he is. But tonight he was certainly an above-average defender, and that took both Tennessee's defense to another level, and I think it really got him started too. And if it hadn't been for those turnovers Tennessee had in the first, maybe 7-8 minutes, that game is almost done at that point. I mean, Tennessee would have been up. The way Tennessee was shooting, it made something. It was like, 4 of the first 6 or whatever from 3, shooting like 70-80% from the field. Just kept turning it over too many times, and they got to get that nipped in the bud. Reminds me of kind of what Barnes said a couple weeks ago when he said, listen, guys, if you can take care of the basketball, you can be lethal. But they just have to start doing that. But Lanier, to your point, better defensively, got him going offensively, and it's like Chris Jans said, when he's doing that, there's not much you can do.
Lastly, Felix Okpara was terrific tonight as well. Only scored 9 points. 3 of the 9 points were a 3-point shot at the buzzer. His first make at Tennessee, his only attempt of the year so far. His second career made 3 in 3 seasons as a college player. But more impressively than that, a season-high 12 rebounds, just continues to be a really physical presence in the post and in the paint for Tennessee. Just has always been an elite rim protector and a great rebounder. He loves doing those things, and he did both of those things well tonight.
Yeah, and that was important too because Igor Milicic, is usually Tennessee's best rebounder by a wide margin, and but he was turning the ball over a lot in this game, and so they had to give him some breaks, You might want to call him to go sit down for a minute and think about his sins, as the Reverend does from time to time. But that makes it even more important, because sometimes Okpara is not supposed to be the guy who gets the rebound. He's supposed to seal off, or he goes to block the shot, and that's Milicic's job to go get the ball. And that's designed at times. People forget that. That's why sometimes Jonas Ader didn't have a bunch of rebounds, not because he can't rebound, because his job isn't necessarily to go get the ball every time. So, but that was important, because I think Milicic struggled tonight a little bit. Okpara had to go in there and do some more stuff, and I tell you, he can do some things as a player. Both him and Milicic, they're a little bit hot and cold, but when they are both doing what they're supposed to be doing, you see exactly why Tennessee wanted them.
No doubt, and now Tennessee turns its attention to a very, very big matchup on Saturday night on the Plains against number 1 Auburn. Wes and I will both be in attendance on Saturday night, and of course we'll have plenty of coverage of tonight's win over Mississippi State and a lot of preview content leading into Saturday night's game at Auburn as well at GoVols247.com. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.